What's up, guys? It's Nick here. I'm going to go through a sales scenario, and this is something that a lot of salespeople screw up. It's called the pre-close. I also call it the framework. I always like to go like this. It's the framework for the one call close sale, or to assume the sale the smoothest way possible. Like and subscribe, follow along. If you have questions about this, hit me in the comments. This is something a lot of salespeople aren't taught because most people are a little uncomfortable doing it, or they never really thought about it from a logical sense. So what do I mean by that? So the first thing you want to do is you always assume the sale. Well, you can't just start assuming the sale 3/4 of the way through the pitch. I assume the sale before I even pick up the phone. I assume the sale before I ever knock on their front door. I set that up because I make it very clear up front to the person I'm talking to. Very simply, I say a line, no matter what I'm selling. Hey, if we can get this figured out for you, have something that makes sense, you got all the facts and figures in front of you, you'd be able to get this taken care of, right? I don't talk. I stop talking and I let them answer. If they say anything other than yes, I know I have a lot of work to do. If they say no, I can't we can't get that taken care of. I don't know this, that, and the other. I just say, okay, I understand completely. That's my job, is to get you all the information that you need, help compare, help go through the options. And if we can come up with a good option that fits you and the amount of money that you want to spend, we'll be able to get you taken care of. Cool? Cool. Very few people are going to say, fuck that, no way. Very few. And I've done 10,000 in-home appointments. I say it just like that almost every time. I look them dead in their eye and I stop talking. I lay out an agenda. This is very simple. It's very easy. So like with home improvements or with a final expense sale, I literally would say, look, it's really simple. I just got to ask you a few questions. I got to go through the application and we'll see what you qualify for. Nothing hard. Once we can see what you qualify for, we're going to submit your application and see if it'll get approved. If it gets approved, great. If it doesn't, we tried our best. No harm, no foul. Same thing with a home improvement. I would say, hey, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to measure. Then I'm going to grab my kit from the truck. Just got a couple odds and ends in it, got a couple samples I can show you, get you a hands-on feel for what we do. And so you have a reference when I'm talking about something. I could hand you that part of the roof, or I could hand you that part of the gut, or I could hand you the piece of that flooring so you can see exactly what it looks like. So you have all the information in front of you so that you can make a good decision. Cool. Say it just like that. Lay out the agenda, make it clear up front. I always say it won't take long. It won't take long, be super quick and easy. It's painless. We just got to go through the process and I'll get all this done for you. I just have to have the right information so I can help you the best I can. Always want to make it seem like it's going fast. Fast service is considered good service. Look at Chick-fil-A. Their food's delicious, but what's amazing? Their line is so efficient. Period. Efficiency breeds confidence. The last thing, I said let them drag out the questions. Meaning you are quick and ready to make the answers. You may have stories, you may have anecdotal evidence, that's great, but let them drag out questions or drag out stories from you. You don't want to overshare. You want to assume that you're there to take the order, whatever it is. Always, always keep that in your mind. You want to assume that. Let them ask. If you say, hey, you have any questions about that? And they say, oh, well, I don't know about this. Well, then you, as the salesperson, go into a story to reiterate and rebuild your point, what you're talking about, and the fact that you're there to help them. Very simple. You have to have those stories ready. I can help you build stories. Comment below if you need them. Normally, you want to use real-world stories. You don't want to exaggerate or lie. Or you want to use stories from other people in the industry. One of my favorites to use for this, very, very simple. Brad Lee sums it up. You got 3 options. You can get it done right, you can get it done fast, you can get it done cheap. You pick 2. Well, a lot of people are going to say, well, I want it done fast and I want it done right. Well, then you ain't getting it done cheap. Well, I want it done, nobody normally says I want it done cheap and fast, because then you can say, well, it's not going to be right. They say I want it done cheap and right. Well, then it's not going to be done fast. You always want to have some kind of rebuttal that you want to show them your point of view from your side of the table. That's all that selling is being empathetic to the people you're sitting with and helping them get a realistic view of what's happening. 99% of the reason that people don't sell is because they cannot connect with the person they're talking to, and that person can't see their point. They can't see their point. I just spelled that terribly wrong, so ignore that. But they can't see that point. So what do I mean by that? So this is a quick 1-minute story that reminds me of exactly what that means. I went on an estimate to measure out a fence. This was 10 years ago. I went on a measurement, I went out to an estimate. I'm there to do a sales presentation. They know I'm there for a sales presentation. I measure it all up. It's a big fence. It's going to be $20,000. It's a huge fence. It's 100 feet. It's got it's a couple hundred feet. It's got gates. It was like a monster yard. And I remember saying to the guy, I was like, yeah, fences this size are going to be somewhere in between $20,000 and $40,000, depending on the options that you pick. I, being the salesperson and being pretty new at this, I have already sold a fence that was $30,000. So I know, ipso facto, this guy's fence is going to be in that ballpark, depending on what he tells me he wants. So he's like, oh, no, the fences are only like $1,000. I just walked around the county to measure your yard. Your fence is going to be way more expensive than that. What do you mean? Are we putting out one post and one string of barbed wire? Like, even then, we don't do that. So, no. That guy had it in his mind that he wasn't going to spend more than $1,000. Don't know where that came from. I don't know whether he was looking at the price of the nails, because in today's market, it was just outrageous. I don't know where that came from or who told him that. The problem was he saw that somewhere and he just thought that that's what a fence should cost. No matter what I did, now, and to be fair, I ended up getting him closer. I increased his expectation. The problem was it was so far different that I couldn't bridge the gap. I couldn't bring him up to $20,000. I could bring him up to $5,000. Well, and I told him that. I said, hey, that's no problem at all. I mean, if you were thinking of spending $1,000, that's literally one gate. One double gate is $1,000. Like, it takes a lot to build that on site and custom hang it and make sure it works and warranty it for a lifetime. There's a lot that goes into that. The problem with that was he couldn't understand that to save his life. So I couldn't bridge the gap. Therefore, I could not make the sale. He couldn't see it from my point of view or the reality of the world we lived in. Now, thankfully, he got 3 other estimates and everybody came in right in the same ballpark with us. Give or take a couple $1,000s. And since I took the most time with this person, I ended up selling him a $7,000 fence. We shrunk it way down. Like we said, all objections come back to money. Shrunk it way down, changed the material, and got it to fit into a budget that was comfortable. But the point was, if I just kept hammering away at assuming a $20,000 sale, his expectation was down here, and reality and expectation were not equal. That's why you have to be able to do these things. Period. You have to assume that sale. The problem is, don't always assume it with your preconceived ideas. Make sure you and your client are eye to eye empathetic with each other. That will help you make a lot more sales. Period. So do those 4 steps. Let them drag out the questions. That's where I got this. That's literally where I figured out when he asked me. He was like, what are fences normally run? Well, for fence this size, it's this much. When he asked me that question, I knew his expectation versus reality wasn't good. So then I had to go a different approach. Where if he would have said, yeah, I figured this, I got 5 other estimates. I figured this fence is going to be $20,000. I know I'm going to sell because his expectation is correct. My reality is close. I can bridge that little gap. It's close. If it's one's through the floor and one's in the sky, you have a tough time. Always keep that in mind.